My beloved child, pause here for a moment, because what happened last night reached a place inside your soulmate they had been trying not to touch for a very long time. This was not ordinary sadness. This was not simply missing you. In this cinematic spiritual reflection, imagine that your soulmate finally heard something about you that completely changed the story they had been telling themselves. For months, perhaps longer, they had been living with assumptions. They believed they understood why you became distant. They thought they knew what you felt. They convinced themselves that maybe you stopped caring, maybe you had moved on easily, maybe what existed between you had always mattered more to them than it ever mattered to you. Those thoughts became a shield. If they could believe you were fine without them, then they never had to confront the possibility that their own choices had hurt someone who truly cared. But last night, someone sat across from them, or perhaps spoke to them over the phone, and finally said something nobody had been brave enough to say before. They told your soulmate the truth about you. And my beloved child, the moment those words entered the conversation, your soulmate became quiet. The person speaking noticed the change immediately. Your soulmate looked away. Their breathing shifted. They tried to respond normally, but their voice would not cooperate. Because what they heard did not confirm their assumptions. It destroyed them. The conversation had not even begun as something serious. Your soulmate may have been talking casually with someone they trusted. A friend. A relative. Someone who had seen pieces of what happened between you. Your name came up unexpectedly. Your soulmate tried acting unaffected. How are they? They asked casually. The person looked at them for a moment before answering. They're doing better. Your soulmate nodded. Good. But the other person could see that good did not mean the conversation was finished. Then they said, "You know they cared about you a lot, right?" Your soulmate froze. They tried laughing it away. "I don't know about that." The person became serious. "No. You don't understand. My beloved child," those words changed the atmosphere. Your soulmate looked up. "What do you mean?" And that was when the truth began coming out. The person explained that during the period when your soulmate believed you were becoming cold, you were actually struggling to protect yourself. You had not stepped away because the connection meant nothing. You stepped away because it meant too much to remain inside something that offered so little clarity. Your soulmate stared at them. "What?" The person continued. "They didn't stop caring. They got tired of hurting." My child, that sentence landed like a weight. They didn't stop caring. They got tired of hurting. Suddenly several memories returned. Your final conversations. The way your tone changed. The questions you stopped asking. The moment you became quieter. Your soulmate had interpreted those things as rejection. Now they were being told they were signs of exhaustion. And for the first time, your soulmate began seeing the past through your eyes. They remembered moments when you tried to understand them. You asked, "Is something wrong?" They answered, "No." You asked, "Do you still want this connection?" They gave you uncertainty. You asked for truth. They gave you silence. At the time, your soulmate believed they were protecting themselves. Last night, someone made them understand what that protection cost you. My beloved child, the person speaking said. You made them question themselves. Your soulmate immediately became defensive. I never wanted that. I know. But they did. Silence. That distinction hurt. Intentions. Consequences. Two different things. Your soulmate may never have intended to make you feel unwanted. But intention could not erase your experience. The person continued. They started wondering whether they were too much. Whether they asked for too much. Whether they cared too deeply. Your soulmate's face changed. Because they knew you. They remembered your heart. And the idea that their behavior made you question that heart became unbearable. They whispered. I didn't know. The person replied. You didn't ask. My beloved child, that was the moment the first crack appeared. Your soulmate had no defense. They didn't ask. They had spent so much time guessing what you felt that they never created the kind of honest conversation where you could safely tell them. And then the person told them something even deeper. They explained that you had defended your soulmate even when other people told you to forget them. You had never needed to do that. You could have turned your pain into anger. You could have described them as heartless. But instead, you apparently said something like, they're not a bad person. I think they're afraid. Your soulmate's eyes filled immediately. Afraid. That word. Because that was exactly what they had been. Afraid of loving you. Afraid of being rejected. Afraid of losing emotional control. Afraid of becoming dependent on something they could not guarantee would last. And somehow, while you were hurting, you still saw beneath their behavior. My child, your soulmate lowered their eyes. The person speaking continued. They understood you better than you understood them. That sentence was difficult to hear. Because perhaps your soulmate had secretly believed they were the more emotionally complicated person. They thought nobody really understood what was happening inside them. But you had understood. You simply could not keep sacrificing your own peace to accommodate it. My beloved child, your soulmate asked. Did they ever say they hated me? The person shook their head. No. Were they angry? Yes. Your soulmate swallowed. But mostly they were hurt. There it was again. Hurt. Something about that word was unbearable. Anger might have been easier. Anger would have allowed your soulmate to imagine you simply blamed them. But hurt meant something had mattered. And if it mattered, then perhaps your soulmate had destroyed something they once secretly wanted more than they admitted. The person then revealed another truth. They told your soulmate there had been a night when you nearly contacted them. You had written a message. A long one. You almost sent it. Your soulmate's entire body became alert. When? The date was mentioned. Your soulmate remembered that night. They remembered feeling unusually restless. They remembered opening your conversation too. Neither of you knew the other was sitting with words. My beloved child, imagine that. Two people looking at the same silence from opposite sides. You almost wrote. I still care, but I can't keep doing this. Your soulmate almost wrote. I miss you. Neither message was sent. And one unsent message became another week of silence. Then another. Then another. Your soulmate asked. Why didn't they send it? The answer came. Because they thought you had already made your choice. Your soulmate looked confused. What choice? That you didn't want them. My child, your soulmate became still. They had never consciously made that choice. They were scared. They were uncertain. They were avoiding vulnerability. But to you, avoidance looked like a decision. And perhaps that is one of the deepest truths your soulmate finally understood last night. When someone refuses to choose clearly, the person waiting eventually has to treat the indecision as an answer. Your soulmate whispered. I never wanted them to think that. The person replied. Then why didn't you tell them? Silence. Again. The question that would not leave them. Why didn't you tell them? Your soulmate searched for an answer. I thought there was more time. My beloved child, even saying it made them realize how painful it sounded. More time. They thought your heart would remain available while they learned courage. They thought patience was unlimited. They thought the connection could be paused without changing. But hearts are not waiting rooms. People grow. People become tired. People learn boundaries. And last night your soulmate finally understood that. Then the person said something that caused your soulmate's eyes to fill completely. They used to say you were worth waiting for. Your soulmate looked up sharply. What? They said you were worth waiting for. The room became silent. My child, think about the weight of that sentence. While your soulmate was questioning whether they should take the risk of choosing you, you had already decided they were worth patience. But eventually something changed. The person continued. Then one day they said, maybe I'm waiting for someone who isn't coming. Your soulmate broke. Not dramatically at first. Their eyes simply lowered. They looked away. They tried swallowing the emotion. But the tears came anyway. Because suddenly they saw everything. You waiting. You hoping. You interpreting every small sign. You convincing yourself to remain patient. And eventually realizing patience without reciprocity becomes self-abandonment. My beloved child, your soulmate cried because they finally understood the difference between losing someone and discovering how their own choices contributed to that loss. They said quietly, I did come. The person looked at them. Your soulmate corrected themselves. I mean, I wanted to. But you didn't. Another painful truth. Wanting to show up is not the same as showing up. Thinking about sending the message is not sending it. Imagining choosing someone is not choosing them. Feeling love privately is not making another person feel loved. My child, your soulmate cried because every hidden emotion suddenly seemed useless. They had loved you in places you could not see. In thoughts. In unsent messages. In private conversations. in moments alone. But you had lived only with what they showed. And what they showed had not been enough. Then something even more surprising was revealed. The person told your soulmate. They never wanted perfection from you. Your soulmate wiped their eyes. What did they want? Honesty. One word. Honesty. Your soulmate almost laughed through the sadness. Because they had spent so much time trying to become emotionally perfect before approaching you. They thought they needed answers. They thought they needed certainty. They thought they needed to know the future. But you did not ask for that. You simply wanted truth. I care about you. I am afraid. I need time. I don't want to lose you. Any of those sentences could have changed everything. Instead, your soulmate believed silence was safer. My beloved child, then the person revealed something your soulmate was completely unprepared to hear. You had once said, "If they came to me and just told me the truth, I would listen." Your soulmate's eyes widened. When did they say that? The date was mentioned. It was later than your soulmate expected. You had still been open. Even after the confusion. Even after the hurt. There had been a window. A real one. And your soulmate missed it. That realization caused the tears to return. My child, they began asking. Is that window closed now? The person hesitated. I don't know. Are they seeing someone? I don't know. Do they still care? The person became quiet. Then answered. I think they care. But caring isn't the same as waiting. Your soulmate closed their eyes. Caring isn't the same as waiting. That sentence stayed. Perhaps you still remembered them. Perhaps part of your heart still softened when their name appeared. But you had learned that love did not require standing still. And your soulmate finally respected that. Then the person leaned closer and said, if you contact them, don't do it because you're panicking. Your soulmate looked up. What do you mean? Don't suddenly become everything they needed because you're afraid someone else will have them. My beloved child, this was wisdom your soulmate needed. Fear of losing someone can create temporary effort. But temporary effort is not transformation. The person continued. If you're going to talk to them, talk because you're ready to be honest even if they don't give you the answer you want. Your soulmate became silent. That was the test. Could they apologize without demanding you return? Could they tell you they loved you without using that love to pressure you? Could they listen to your hurt without immediately defending themselves? Could they respect your boundaries? For the first time, your soulmate wanted to try. Not because they had suddenly become fearless. Because they were tired of fear making decisions for them. Later that night, after the conversation ended, your soulmate was alone. Their eyes were still heavy from crying. They opened your contact. Your name appeared. They stared at it. Then they started writing. I learned something tonight that I should have understood a long time ago. They stopped. Read it. Kept it. Then. I thought your distance meant you stopped caring. Another sentence. Now I understand you were trying to protect yourself from my inconsistency. Their heart raced. Then came the hardest part. I am sorry. They paused. Not. I am sorry, but. No excuse. I am sorry. My beloved child, they continued. I made you carry questions I should have answered. Another. I expected you to understand feelings I refused to communicate. Another. You deserved better from me. They stared at the message. Then they wrote. I still love you. Delete. They tried again. My feelings never disappeared. Delete again. Why were they deleting those lines? Because something had finally changed. They realized this message could not begin with what they wanted from you. It needed to begin with what they owed you. Truth. Responsibility. So they left the confession for later. The apology came first. Then they added. You don't have to answer this. I just didn't want another day to pass without acknowledging what I understand now. My child, they were about to send it. Their finger hovered above the screen. Then fear returned. What if they ignore me? What if they're with someone else? What if this hurts them? Your soulmate almost closed the conversation. Then they remembered what the person had told them. Be honest even if you cannot control the answer. They breathed. Pressed send. Delivered. Your soulmate stared at the screen. For several minutes nothing happened. Then. Seen. You had read it. My beloved child, their heart began pounding. No response. 1 minute. 3. 5. 10. They reminded themselves. You told them they didn't have to answer. But emotionally, every second felt enormous. Then finally the typing indicator appeared. 3 dots. Disappeared. Returned. Your soulmate stopped moving. The message arrived. It was one sentence. I never thought you would understand. Your soulmate's eyes filled again. They typed. I didn't. Not then. Another sentence. But I do now. You did not immediately answer. Then. Someone must have told you. Your soulmate froze. How did you know? They answered. Yes. Then. They told me things I should have understood without needing someone else to explain them. Your response. Who? My child, your soulmate hesitated. Then sent the name. You stared at it. The typing indicator appeared immediately. And your next message changed everything. You trust that person? Your soulmate frowned. Yes. Why? A pause. Then you wrote. Because there's something about them you don't know. Your soulmate became completely still. What do you mean? You started typing. Stopped. Started again. Finally. They weren't just telling you the truth about me. Another message appeared. They were involved in why I walked away. My beloved child, your soulmate's heart dropped. Involved? How? They immediately asked. What happened? You answered. They contacted me months ago. Your soulmate stared at the screen. The same person who had just sat with them, told them how much you cared, watched them cry, and encouraged them to finally be honest with you had apparently spoken to you months earlier. Your soulmate typed. About what? Your response came slowly. About you. Then another. And what they told me back then was completely different from what they apparently told you last night. My beloved child, your soulmate forgot about the tears for a moment. Something felt wrong. The person they trusted had finally told them the truth about you. But perhaps they had not always been telling the truth. And now your soulmate was about to discover why the same person who brought them to tears last night may also have helped create the misunderstanding that separated you in the first place. My beloved child, the moment your soulmate read your words, they weren't just telling you the truth about me. They were involved in why I walked away. Something inside them changed instantly. A few minutes earlier, they had been feeling gratitude toward this person. Gratitude because someone had finally forced them to confront the truth about how deeply you had cared, how much their silence had hurt you, and how many opportunities for honesty they had allowed to disappear. They had cried because this person seemed to understand both sides of the connection. They believed they were finally being helped toward clarity. But now you were telling them that the same person had entered your side of the story months earlier, and apparently they had told you something completely different. My beloved child, your soulmate stared at the screen trying to reconcile two versions of someone they trusted. The person who sat with them last night had said, they cared about you more than you understood. Yet according to you, months ago this same person had helped convince you that your soulmate did not care enough to choose you. How could both things be true? Your soulmate typed quickly, what exactly did they tell you? Your response did not come immediately. That silence made their heartbeat increase. Finally, you answered, they told me you had already decided I wasn't the person you wanted. Your soulmate froze. They had never said that. They had been afraid. Confused. Emotionally inconsistent. But they had never made that decision. And suddenly the tears from the previous night took on a completely different meaning. Perhaps this person had not simply revealed the truth. Perhaps they had been carrying pieces of the truth between both of you for months, deciding which pieces each heart was allowed to hear. Your soulmate typed, I never told them that. You answered, I know that now. Those words hurt. You know that now. Not then. Then, your soulmate had given you so little clarity that someone else's statement sounded believable. My child, your soulmate finally understood something painful. Outside interference only becomes powerful when direct communication has already become weak. If they had spoken to you clearly, if they had told you, I care about you, but I am afraid, then another person's interpretation would never have carried the same weight. So even while suspicion began rising toward the person who had interfered, your soulmate refused to make themselves completely innocent. They knew their silence had created the opening. But that did not answer why someone they trusted had used that opening. They asked you, when did this happen? You gave them a date. Your soulmate immediately remembered that period. It was exactly when your energy changed. The messages became shorter. You stopped asking what was wrong. You stopped trying to repair every distance. At the time, your soulmate interpreted the change as proof that you were losing interest. Now they understood that someone had apparently told you there was nothing left to wait for. My beloved child, they whispered to themselves, that was why. So many confusing pieces began falling into place. The night you did not reply the way you normally did. The week you stopped reaching out. The moment you seemed emotionally absent even while still being polite. Your soulmate had thought you were punishing them or becoming indifferent. You were actually trying to respect what you believed was their decision. They wrote, "Why didn't you ask me?" Then they deleted it. Because immediately they realized how unfair that question sounded. You had asked before. Not about the rumor specifically, perhaps, but about the relationship. About their feelings. About what they wanted. And they had repeatedly given you vague answers. Why would you continue asking someone who seemed unwilling to speak clearly? Instead, your soulmate typed. I understand why you believed it. My child, that sentence mattered. No blaming you. No saying. You should have trusted me. How could you trust what they never communicated? You replied. I wanted to believe it wasn't true. But your behavior made it easy to believe. Your soulmate closed their eyes. Again, truth. Hard truth. They typed. You're right. Then. I hate that you're right, but you're right. For the first time, the two of you were discussing what happened without trying to win. And then your soulmate asked the question they had been avoiding. Why would they tell you that? Your answer came. I don't know. Then. But that wasn't everything. My beloved child, your soulmate's stomach tightened. What else? You explained that after telling you your soulmate had supposedly decided against the connection, this person continued checking on you. They offered support. They asked how you were doing. At first, it seemed kind. They told you to focus on yourself. They said you deserved someone who could choose you clearly. None of that sounded wrong. But then the conversations became more personal. The person started asking what you wanted in a relationship. What qualities mattered to you. Whether you would ever consider someone completely different from your soulmate. Your soulmate stopped reading for a moment. A suspicion entered their mind. They did not like it. They typed. Did they ever tell you they were interested in you? Your response took longer. No. Relief appeared briefly. Then another message. But looking back, some things feel strange. My child, your soulmate became completely alert. What things? You described moments when the person complimented you in ways that went beyond casual reassurance. They told you that anyone would be lucky to have you. They said they could not understand why your soulmate had failed to recognize your value. They sometimes compared themselves to your soulmate indirectly. Your soulmate's jaw tightened. But then you wrote something important. I never thought they were trying anything. I thought they were just being supportive. Your soulmate believed you. The problem was not you. The question was what this person's intentions had been. And suddenly your soulmate remembered conversations from their own side. This person had repeatedly encouraged them to remain silent until they were completely sure. They had said, "Don't contact them just because you miss them." That advice sounded reasonable. But there had also been comments like, "Maybe they're better off without you." Or, "Maybe you should let them move on." My beloved child, those words sounded different now. At the time, your soulmate believed this person was protecting both of you from another painful cycle. Now they wondered whether there had been another motivation. Still, they refused to jump directly to betrayal. They needed truth. Your soulmate wrote, "I need to talk to them." You responded immediately. "Please don't attack them." "I won't." "Promise?" "I promise." My child, your soulmate called. The phone rang. Once. Twice. No answer. They tried again. This time the person picked up. "Hey." Your soulmate did not waste time. "I talked to them." Silence. The voice changed. "Oh." That one word revealed something. Your soulmate continued. "They told me you spoke to them months ago." Another silence. "Yes." "Why didn't you tell me?" "I didn't think it mattered." Your soulmate took a breath. "What did you tell them about me?" The person hesitated. "I told them you were confused." "That's not what they said." Silence. "They said you told them I decided I didn't want them." No answer. My beloved child, your soulmate's heart began pounding. "Did you tell them that?" Finally. "Yes." "Why?" The person sighed. "Because that was basically what you were showing." Your soulmate became angry. "But it wasn't what I told you." "No." "So why did you speak for me?" The person became defensive. "Because someone had to." My child, the sentence hit hard. Someone had to. Your soulmate replied. "No. I had to. And I failed to." That still didn't give you the right to decide what I meant. Silence. Then the person said. "They were hurting." "I know. You kept giving them hope and then disappearing." "I know. They needed to stop waiting." Your soulmate's voice softened, but not because they agreed. They needed truth. You gave them your interpretation. The person had no immediate answer. Then your soulmate asked, "Was that the only reason?" Another long silence. My beloved child, the silence told them there was more. "Answer me." The person finally said. "No." Your soulmate felt their stomach drop. What was the other reason? The voice on the other end became quieter. I started caring about them. There it was. The possibility your soulmate had been afraid to believe. They said nothing. The person continued. It didn't happen immediately. Your soulmate remained silent. I was talking to them because they were hurting. At first I was trying to help. But the more we talked, the more I started feeling something. My child, jealousy surged through your soulmate. But another thought stopped them from exploding. You were not property. Nobody could steal you. Your soulmate had created distance. They had failed to communicate. Another person had interacted with you during that space. The feelings themselves were not necessarily the betrayal. The betrayal was manipulating information because of those feelings. Your soulmate asked, "Did you hide the truth because you wanted a chance with them?" The person hesitated. Partly. My beloved child, that word changed everything. Partly. Your soulmate felt betrayed by someone they trusted. You listened to me talk about loving them. I know. You knew I was scared. I know. And instead of telling me to be honest, you told them I'd already made my decision. The person replied, "I thought you'd keep hurting them." Your soulmate answered, "That wasn't your choice to make." Silence. Then the person said something unexpected. "I know." The anger shifted. Because this person was not completely denying what they had done. They continued. "I told myself I was protecting them. And maybe part of me was. But I also knew that if they stopped waiting for you, maybe eventually they'd see me differently." My child, your soulmate closed their eyes. There it was. No grand conspiracy. No cartoon villain. Something more human and more painful. A person had mixed genuine concern with selfish desire. And because your soulmate had been emotionally absent, that person had found an opportunity to become important in your pain. Still, your soulmate asked, "Did anything happen between you?" "No." "Did you tell them how you felt?" "No." "Do you still feel that way?" The person hesitated. "I don't know." Your soulmate took a breath. Then said something they did not expect themselves to say. "I need distance from you." The person responded, "I understand." My beloved child, your soulmate ended the call. They wanted to blame everything on this person. It would have been easier. If someone interfered, perhaps your soulmate could tell themselves the heartbreak was not really their fault. But then they remembered your words. Your behavior made it easy to believe. That was the truth they refused to avoid. This person influenced the distance. But they did not create the original silence. Your soulmate did. They returned to your conversation. You asked, "What happened?" Your soulmate answered honestly. They admitted they developed feelings for you. Your response came, "What?" They said that's part of why they told you what they did. Silence. Then, "I had no idea." Your soulmate typed, "I believe you." My child, there was no accusation. No jealousy directed toward you. Then they added, "But I don't want to pretend they're the reason everything went wrong." You waited. Your soulmate continued, "I gave them access to information I should have given you directly. I let fear create a vacuum. They filled it with their version of the truth." Your response, "Yes." Another painful but necessary agreement. Your soulmate typed, "I am sorry." You responded. For what part? That question stopped them. There were many parts. So they answered. For making you wonder. Another message. For making someone else's words more believable than mine because I barely gave you any words. Another. For expecting you to remain available while I stayed uncertain. Another. For letting fear become your problem. My beloved child, you read everything. Then you sent. This is the first time you've really understood. Your soulmate's eyes filled again. Not because you had forgiven them. Because they finally felt seen correctly by you in the present, not as perfect, not as evil, but as someone who had made painful choices and was now recognizing them. Then your soulmate typed. There is something I need to tell you too. You asked. What? They stared at the screen. This was the confession they had deleted the previous night because they did not want to make their apology transactional. Now they were ready to say it carefully. My feelings for you never disappeared. You did not answer. They continued. I still love you. Silence. My child, your soulmate's heart raced. They immediately added. I am not saying that because I expect you to come back. Another pause. I just don't want to hide the truth anymore. You read it. Minutes passed. Then your response came. I still care about you. Your soulmate's eyes widened. But before hope could become certainty, another message followed. That doesn't mean I trust you yet. Your soulmate exhaled. I understand. You responded. Do you? Yes. How? My beloved child, your soulmate thought carefully. Then wrote. Because love answers one question. Trust answers another. You stared at that sentence. Your soulmate continued. You can care about me and still not feel safe giving me access to your heart. This time your response took longer. Finally. Exactly. My child, something important happened. Your soulmate stopped trying to use your feelings as proof that you should return. Instead, they began respecting the distinction between emotion and readiness. They asked. What would rebuilding trust look like to you? You replied. I don't know yet. Your soulmate answered. That's okay. Then. I'll listen whenever you do know. My beloved child, there was no promise that everything would become perfect. No guaranteed reunion. But for the first time, the conversation was not being controlled by assumptions. Then you asked something that caught your soulmate off guard. Do you know what hurt me more than what that person told me? Your soulmate replied. What? You never came looking for the truth. The sentence cut deeply. You continued. When I became distant, you assumed I didn't care. You never asked why. Your soulmate stared at the screen. That was true. They had interpreted your silence just as strongly as you interpreted theirs. Neither had asked enough direct questions. Your soulmate wrote. I was afraid of the answer. You responded. And I was afraid too. My child, there it was. Both hearts had been afraid. But fear alone was not the enemy. What each person did with fear determined what followed. Your soulmate typed. If we ever have another conversation after this, I don't want us making decisions based on what someone else says. You answered. Then ask me directly. They replied. I will. Then you wrote. And I'll ask you. Something softened. Not healed. Not restored. But softened. My beloved child, your soulmate understood that perhaps this was what truth looked like when it finally arrived. Not some dramatic moment that erased all pain, but two people slowly refusing to hide behind assumptions anymore. Then your phone conversation went quiet. Your soulmate believed the night's revelations were over. But almost an hour later, the person who had interfered sent another message. I forgot to tell you something. Your soulmate stared at it. After everything, they almost ignored the message. But another line appeared. It's about the first time I contacted them. Your soulmate's heart tightened. What about it? The response came. I wasn't the one who decided to contact them. Your soulmate frowned. What does that mean? A pause. Then. Someone gave me their number and told me they were worried about them. My beloved child, your soulmate became completely still. Someone else? They typed. Who? The person's response took a long time. When the name finally appeared, your soulmate recognized it immediately. Not a stranger. Not someone distant from the connection. Someone who had been around from the beginning. Someone who knew your soulmate's fears. Someone who knew you were waiting. And apparently this person had quietly put the two of you into contact long before either of you understood what was happening. Your soulmate stared at the name. Then remembered a conversation from months earlier. A question this person had asked. If they truly moved on, would you finally let them go? At the time, your soulmate thought it was harmless. Now it sounded completely different. My child, last night your soulmate cried because someone finally told them the truth about you. But now they were beginning to realize the truth may have passed through more than one person's hands before it ever reached them. And if the name on their screen meant what they feared it meant, the misunderstanding between you may have been influenced by someone neither of you had ever suspected.